Buongiorno, siamo qua per la conferenza stampa del film Dune, presentato fuori concorso, e al tavolo, a partire dalla destra in fondo, Javier Bardem, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, il regista del film Denis Villeneuve, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya e Josh Brolin. I'd like to start with a question, just to break the ice to Denis, because I understand that this book has been with you for a very, very long time. And so what is it that made it so important for you when you were young and now?
I kept saying to the cast, push the button. I think that when I read it as a kid, I was like struck by Paul's journey, the way he finds his identity, comfort into another culture, his relationship with nature, and his feeling, this melancholy and this beautiful feeling of isolation that the character was going through, and struggling with all this heritage, the weight of an heritage on his shoulder. That's something that deeply moved me at art at the beginning.
Hi, this is Matic Majcem from RTV Slovenia. I have a question for Timothy. The character of Paul Atreides has already given us one iconic performance, namely by Kyle MacLachlan in the David Lynch film. So I wondered, while you were preparing for the role, did you use that performance or as any kind of template or inspiration, or did you prefer to stay away from that as much as you could and build something that is completely your own? Thank you.
Yep, sorry. The latter. Because that was loud, sorry. Huge respect for Kyle's performance, and I love that version, and I watched it about 2 months before we started shooting. I've been fortunate enough to work on other projects that have had prior iterations with great actors in them, and I have huge respect for all of them, but when Denis Villeneuve asks you to do a movie and do his version of a movie, you forget all that, and you make yourself as humble as the source material asks you to be, and I guess just went at it like that.
There.
Hi, Stephen Shaver here for the Boston Herald. Denis, I wonder when you got to do this massive movie, which is called Part One, what did you find was your biggest challenge, actually? And secondly, because it is Part One, what is the benchmark when we'll find out we can have Part Two?
The biggest challenge doing Dune was by far to deal and master with Timothy's hair. No. Because it's alive, and I had to direct Timothy, and I had to direct his haircut. And you guys don't know. Okay, sorry. The biggest challenge, I will say, was to try to find a balance between. There's the book is so rich. And it's a book that takes all its strength into its details, and it was really to try to find an equilibrium between the information that someone that doesn't know the book at all, the amount of information that the audience that don't know the book, the amount of information they will need to understand the movie, without crushing them with exposition, and trying to be, of course, as cinematographic as possible. So it's like that was the big challenge, not trying to find the right amount of information so the audience could follow the story correctly and follow this adventure. About the benchmark, that I'm not the one who will draw the line. I think that one thing for sure is that the Warner Brother and Legendary are proud of the movie right now, and putting all their efforts to bring it to the world on the big screen, which I'm very happy. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, hopefully, at the end of the day, these are, of course, difficult times. for everybody, and we all agree safety first. I mean, but if the audience feels comfortable and there's a safe environment, I encourage them to see this movie on the big screen, because it has been dreamed, it has been designed, it has been made, it has been shot, thinking IMAX, and the sound design, everything. It's when you watch this movie on a big screen, it's almost like an IMAX. It's a physical experience. You know, we try to design a movie that will be as immersive as possible. So that's why and for me, the big screen is part of the language. Voilà.
Hello, I'm Pepa Blanes from Cadena Ser Radio, Spain. I would like to ask to Javier Bardem, because Dune, I think, in my opinion, talks about one of the most important problems today, environment. You are a green activist, and I wonder if for you it's important that movies like that talk about this. If my colleagues don't kill me, I ask you if you could answer in English and in Spanish, please. If you don't mind, of course.
In English and in Spanish will take a lot of time, no? First in English, I think, yes, the movie, the author was ahead of his time, and he was already concerned about how the world was going towards, in the sense of losing the capacity to have us all in good health, as long as we violate its limits. And here we are today, dealing with that, thinking that it's something that is going to happen in the next future, but it's happening as we speak, which is kind of scary. It's on the governments, it's on the big corporations, the solution to really make a big step ahead and really change our minds about how we behave in this world. And it's a change of style, of lifestyle for all of us, and it's kind of scary. But it's either that or a disaster, as the people who know say. So my character in this movie thinks that way as well, and is defending the environmental aspect of the planet in order to at least make his tribe, his people survive. And I was absolutely, linked emotionally or conceptually to that color of the character immediately when I read it in the book and when I read it in the script. So it is important that in a movie like this, Denis and the whole crew, the whole people have made this amazing movie, tells that part of the story, because it's one step more in the right direction. En español no puedo porque si no sería demasiado. Gracias. Por tiempo me dicen. Gracias, perdona.
Hello, Kuriko from Japan, eiga.com. I have a question to Mr. Villeneuve and one question to Ms. Zendaya and Mr. Chalamet. To Mr. Villeneuve, I have an impression that this film is politically very relevant today. So I would not say its message, but there is a political context subject in it. So could you talk about the process of adaptation? And a question to Ms. Zendaya, how about your hairstyle? I'm joking. Your presence is very, very big impact. So how do you prepare to this role? And one question to Mr. Chalamet. This is very epic story, and your presence is very, very strong in the whole movie. So personally, what does it mean to you, this movie? And what impact do you think in your career? Thank you.
To start quickly, I will say that when Frank Herbert wrote Dune in the 60s, back then he was like doing like a portrait of the 20th century, but I think it became more and more through time, like prediction of what will happen in the 21st. And sadly, the book is by far more relevant today about the blend of the danger of the blend between the cross mix between religion and politics, the danger of messianic figures, the impact of colonialism, as Javier pointed out, the problem with the environment. And as this book stayed with me through the years, but it just felt more and more and more through time, more and more relevant. And so I think that sadly, yeah, I wish it was not the case, but I think the movie it will speak to the world right now more than it would have done 40 years ago, I will say. Yeah, I will say that about the environment to add to what Javier said. I think that future generations will judge us. I think it's time to get angry right now. I think it's time to push, to make changes. I think I still have hope, and I think that it's time to get into action. I think it's like there's as an example, there's an election right now in Canada. They don't talk enough about environment. That should be the priority. That's the thing we should talk about in this election right now, and they don't talk about it that much. It's just like another subject. That should be the subject. Anyway, I don't want to be moralistic. I just think that's it's about survival, and that's what this book is about: surviving.
Hi. Well, I didn't really get much time to shoot with these amazing people, some of which I got to meet today. And I was extremely, I guess you could say, intimidated, because obviously there's so many people here that I admire. And then the opportunity to work with Denis, I think he's an extraordinary filmmaker and has always been someone that I also admired. So stepping into that, I was like, I don't have much time, and there's so many people that I have to hopefully stand next to and do somewhat of a good job, you know, and it was intimidating and scary. But as soon as I got there, there was such a warmth and an embrace that I felt immediately comfortable and taken care of, and all I had to do was be guided, and Denis opened up and explained the world to me, and was able to do that in a short amount of time, and everybody was so welcoming, and it was a beautiful experience. I was only there for a few days, but I felt like I had been very quickly a part of a family. So yeah, I appreciate all of you guys for making it such a wonderful time, and I feel extremely grateful to just be a piece of this really gorgeous puzzle that is Dune, you know. So yeah, very, very humbled, and it was a special time, but just trusted him.
I'll try to go quickly too, because I know we got to get to some other questions, but simply put, this was the honor of a lifetime for me. And I like how Zendaya just put it. In some way, I just had to be guided, even though it was a project size I hadn't been on before. And every person, every artist I'm fortunate enough to sit up here with right now, and maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I was able to lean on each one emotionally at some point over the course of these 4 or 5 month shoot. These are all actors I've seen in projects that I admire. That's not actors blowing smoke. That's really, if we had more time, I can have a longer conversation about it. And now I'm proud to call these, you know, my sisters and brothers. If that's with everyone up here, I hope we get to do a second one. That'd be a dream. And yet, in some way, I'm simply grateful for the experience of doing this. And Josh Brolin said it beautifully this morning in a different interview. When you make, the process of making the thing is different than the putting it out. So there's 3 versions of the movie. There's a movie you read, there's the movie you make, and there's the movie they edit. And now there's the movie we're putting out there, so hopefully people go see it, but this has already been a dream come true.
Speaking of guidance, I like to bring in the conversation Rebecca Ferguson and Oscar Isaac, who play Paul's parents. And Oscar, you have the power of war, and Rebecca, you have the power of the mind. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between your characters and Paul?
Yes. Hi. Hello. War. I don't know. I feel like what Duke Leto brings, which is maybe very specific, is in some way he's the most recognizably human, meaning he has no special powers, he has no, he has nothing that is, that any of us don't have, other than being the ruler of Caladan. So, you know, and the fact that he's knowingly marching towards his demise and knows that, and that's from the book too. I mean, from the second people start talking about him, they're saying, you know, he's not going to make it. and yet there's still this tension about what he's going to do and if he's going to continue. And, you know, not to get too highfalutin about it, but it's very similar to, we all know that we're going to die, yet we still have to continue and make choices. And so I think as far as a figure for his son, trying to bring some sense of humanity and nobility not in the blue blood kind of way, but nobility in terms of seeking a higher level of consciousness and a higher way of leading a nation and of leading a people, especially coming into this place. Like, how do you inherit all of this ugliness and all of this evil and all these machinations that are out of your control, and try to move towards a more noble state of being? And I think that's the big thing that he's trying to give to this son that has been prophesied to be some messiah or something. But as far as he's concerned, as long as you can hold on to that humanity and the higher idea of humanity, you'll be okay. And it's an interesting dynamic between the two of them. That was something we had to talk a lot between Rebecca and I, about how much do they know about what each parent is doing? How much does he know about all of this, you know, manipulations over the centuries and what this means? You know, it starts with this thing that she was supposed to have a daughter, and she gave me a son instead. You know, she broke the rules out of some sense of love. Is it because it was a sense of love, or is it because she already knew it was time for this Messiah to show up? So it's amazing, because the more questions you ask, the deeper and deeper and deeper it goes.
Hello. It's so interesting just listening to the interviews that we're doing and listening to other people's answers, because what I love is you can do films and you can ride along, I feel, on other people's description of character description or emotion, and I feel we all have our own identity, really and truly, in this. We all have our own relationships to each other and to the spice and to, you can't just ride along. I mean, for me, or for Jessica, it's such a mind game and an emotional one as well, that balance of being a mother, but also having such a strong belief in something greater than just being a mother. And one isn't better or doesn't sort of outsmart the other, but you know, she comes from this sisterhood, the Bene Gesserit, who are there to manipulate the outcome of the universe, basically. And then conflicted with this passion and love for her belief. And also, I believe, we spoke a lot about true love. What happens when you fall in love? And the request of creating a son versus my chores. Which one do you go for? You know, it's a constant struggle. And you say mind, I mean, this is her entire identity. It's the mind struggle, but the emotional protection of children, of your child, of your loved ones, and knowing what is right. It's and finding those lovely balances. Thankfully, I had a director helping me from one emotion to the other. I was quite confused sometimes. But yeah.
But to speak to Denis as well, you know, it was something that we constantly spoke about. And trying to find that balance, and how, you know, how much we reveal of what they know, and looking, you know, constantly going back to the book and talking about scenes and what can we add, what do we not need, how can we deepen the feeling of the family, and particularly the emotional battle between duty and, you know, love of your family, wanting to keep your family safe.
Nicely said, Oscar. That was good.
Thank you. I was just looking at you for approval the whole time.
Hi, Helen Barlow from Australia. This is a question to Josh. I saw the Stephen Colbert thingy me question thing with a lot of you, and you were like the class clown, and every time your name is mentioned, Timothy smiles. So were you kind of the class clown on the set? And it's hilarious that your first line is, "I am smiling," when you're not smiling. And how was it to play this stern military man, given that you are this gregarious kind of person in real life? And how was it on the set?
I apologize, madam. Josh is not allowed to speak.
He put it in my contract. Wow, man. There's so much to say. There's so much intelligence up here that I can't match. I think I was on set as Denis' friend, and I was somehow worked into the movie. I don't even know. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if the character is actually in the book. But I'm paid to make people laugh, apparently, even in dramas. So I have the power of the testicles in this movie. Yes, I said it. And that's what I represent. I'm here to protect the Duke. That's all I know. I'm listening to all these, what I find fascinating in all seriousness, which is very difficult for me. What I find fascinating is what we created before we started the movie is not what we're experiencing now. You know, you have ideas of what this was and what Frank Herbert Jr. created. I just for a moment imagine Frank Herbert Jr. listening to us right now and to think, like, would he be proud? Is this what he intended? Was he talking about this when he was talking to Alan Watts in the 60s? Was he imagining us when he did LSD in the 60s? Whatever it is,
He saw you for sure.
For me, he imagined only
a big Brolin, LSD and a Brolin.
But he, I think he intended something very powerful. And when I saw the movie, that's what I saw. You know, I know we're kind of supposed to talk away from kind of the fandom of Dune, but when I saw when the movie was screened for me, I brought somebody who was a major fan and had read the series probably 3 times over when they were very young, 8 years old, 9 years old. And we screened the movie. There was a long pause afterwards, and this man is 48 years old and from New York City. And he started screaming at the top of his lungs. And he said, "That's what I saw. That's what I saw as a kid. Yes, yes, yes," you know. And when you see that kind of reaction, you realize it hits somebody on a very visceral level, you know. Allows for regression and allows for something else to happen other than just a cinematic spectacle.
Bonjour, c'est Louis-Philippe Ouimet de Radio-Canada. Une question en français pour M. Villeneuve et M. Chalamet. Bon, c'est un rêve d'adolescence pour vous, M. Villeneuve, le roman Dune. Vous êtes beaucoup identifié à Paul Atreides, hein, Fear is the mind killer. Comment tous les deux, vous avez travaillé, parce que vous parlez de frères et sœurs, de fraternité, d'un amour avec le réalisateur. Donc, M. Villeneuve et M. Chalamet, comment vous avez travaillé ensemble, entre autres pour la fameuse scène du gomme Jabbar qui était assez émouvante, là. Quelle symbiose vous avez installée ensemble?
Déjà la langue, et on peut plaisanter sur ça, mais franchement, d'avoir une tunnel de communication qui était unique pour nous, ça me rassurait. Mais après ça, je dois dire, je sais pas comment dire, le niveau de seriousness que Denis a approché la matériel, que souvent dans les films ou les adaptations sci-fi, on essaie d'ajouter tellement d'éléments et tellement de trucs qui sont intéressants. Et là, j'avais l'impression que Denis voulait l'opposer, que l'environnement était vrai et qu'il voulait les personnages and their behavior d'être vrais aussi. Et par rapport à la scène de Gomme Jabbar, c'était une prescription comme acteur de mettre la main dans une boîte où on se dit « That's the most pain you've ever had in your life ». Alors, c'était des deux côtés, d'essayer de faire le rôle du côté réaliste, mais aussi de me mettre dans les mains de Denis et d'avoir la confiance que où il voulait que j'aille, de me mettre à fond, de not question it, et avoir toute la confiance qui est facile d'avoir avec Denis.
Je dirais que Timothée est quelqu'un qui a un intellect très fort, qui est un intellectuel, et qui a voulu, dès le départ, qu'on a approché le scénario, on a discuté, on a beaucoup discuté. On a eu beaucoup de discussions intellectuelles sur le film, et sur le plateau, mon rôle était de rapprocher ça, d'aller dans la viscéralité de la scène, puis d'aller, les idées étaient installées dans la scène, il fallait aller s'enfoncer dans l'émotion, et Timothée m'a fait confiance. Je dirais que je crois que c'est une des premières scènes qu'on a fait ensemble. Et le fait qu'on travaillait avec Charlotte Rampling, la grande Charlotte Rampling, qui était absolument magnifique, et en fait, qui nous terrifiait aussi. On avait peur de Charlotte.
Qui faisait peur aussi parce qu'on voyait pas son visage et elle avait
Non, mais ça aidait beaucoup, je pense. Ça a été, et c'est là c'est dans cette scène vraiment que le personnage de Paul est né. C'est là que j'ai vu tout le génie, toute la puissance d'acteur de Timothée, où dans un plan précis, je me souviens très bien, où le personnage doit devenir possédé, c'est presque un exorciste, où le personnage devient comme soudainement possédé par une force intérieure qu'il ne soupçonne pas, qui vient de son inconscient, qui vient d'ailleurs. Et c'est un moment où Timothée, son regard, son visage s'est littéralement transformé devant la caméra. Il y a quelque chose, il y a une charge qui est sortie. Et je me souviens à ce moment-là, je pleurais de joie, puis je me suis mis à danser derrière la caméra parce que je me disais, ça y est, j'ai un film. Je me suis pas trompé. Il est Paul. J'étais tellement heureux.
Hi. First of all, congratulations that you finally got to screen the film. And I have a question for Timothy. Actually, could you tell us a little bit more about the sandwalk and perhaps demonstrate it?
Alors, was one of the best choreographers in the world, Benjamin Millepied, who's a director in his own right, who actually came up with the sandwalk. So the first video I think Rebecca and I would have gotten was a video of him on Santa Monica Beach in Los Angeles doing the sandwalk. I'm afraid if I did it right now, I'd be in rhythm, and this whole room would be devoured by a sandworm. So that's a bad joke, but that was another thing to the question we just had in French. That was something that Denis dealt with in a very grounded way. So on set, it wasn't something that, not that we were being too precious or too self-serious, but it was something that was like, hey, let's not be goofy about this. Let's really get this right. And Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, we had the scene in Abu Dhabi, and I think we found the dialogue to it afterwards, but we had to walk down, and hopefully we see TikToks, people doing the sandwalk and stuff. No.
I'm going to jump in. I remember thinking, I need to study this. And then I thought, no, thank God, I'm not supposed to know it. I can get away with not knowing it and look silly.
I think we have time for one more, and she's been waiting.
Hello, Messo Mazzetto. I have a question for Mr. Villeneuve. You have mentioned before the soundtrack, the biggest sounds. I was wondering, have you, before the movie, the idea of making the music with Hans Zimmer, or it came along the movie?
Actually, when I decided to make this movie, Hans was the very first artist I asked to come on board. At the time, we were finishing Blade Runner, and I remember having a conversation with Hans. And he, if I may, he said to me, you know that it's one of my biggest dreams to score Dune. It's so much of a dream that I didn't watch anything. He never watched the previous movies. He never watched anything because he wanted to stay virgin, and he wanted. He said, "I hope one day." And he came to Montreal, and we had a nice dinner, and we had a discussion about, is it a good idea to try to bring to life one of your oldest, one of your most precious dream? Is it a good idea to try to do that? And we were not sure of the answer, but we did it. And the thing is that Hans started to dream. I remember he gave me his own copy of the book. He said, "Bring the book in the desert with you. It would be good for the soul of the movie." His old Dune book. I kept him with me, and we started to work for months and months and months and months of exploration. He wanted to bring new sounds. He wanted to go out of his comfort zone. He wanted to approach music in a different way. And strangely, the pandemic came, and strangely, it forced him to find new ways, to also to interact with the singers, and that were everybody, all the instruments, all the singers, everybody were trapped in their own houses, and sometimes you had those insane, the best singer on earth that were singing in their own closet, trying to, it was like beautiful to see everybody in their own little bubbles and bringing all this score from everywhere and creating all this. We had one thing that we decided right from the start, is that it should be a feminine score to enhance the feminine presence that we felt was very, very, very important and fundamental in the book. And so it was something that we both agreed to bring the female strength from the score as well as we did in the screenplay. Voilà.
I'm sorry, but I'm told that we're run out of time. Thank you, our guest.
Thank you.
And thank you for the film.